Hello. Welcome to our heartfelt workshop.
I know. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
I'm so excited. We're going to be showing you how to do a couple of blocks in a new design called Heartfelt Half Squares.
Yes.
So,
and it's precious.
It is precious.
It's super cute. I know you guys are going to love it. And welcome in. I see a lot of comments today about snow. I saw a hi from snowy Nebraska, hi from snowy Oregon. So that's pretty cool. And then I've seen a couple people from Florida. I saw a gloomy Ohio, which we're in Ohio.
We understand that totally.
Yep. Snowy Kansas. So in fact, I heard, Annie, that the snow is coming our way. I like it. I'm excited.
I think she told me between 1 and 7 a.m. tomorrow night. So Wednesday, when we wake up, we're probably going to have a sloppy mess.
And my kids are already like, we're not going to school, just watch. They're going to cancel.
Right. Aubrey and I were talking earlier about, we've lived in Michigan, we've lived in North Carolina, we've lived in Ohio. And we're just talking about the difference in how quickly school will get canceled in certain places. In Michigan, unless you got a foot or more of snow, you went to school.
That was back in the 80s, so maybe it's different.
Maybe. So if you're in Michigan and it's different now, let us know. But here in Ohio, they'll probably delay, if not cancel school on Wednesday. And when we lived in North Carolina, if it was in the forecast or they woke up to frost, it'd be like, oh, cancel school. So
like, the roads are terrible.
So it's interesting how different parts of the country kind of take all that snow and stuff like that. But let's get off the subject.
But all I know is about that is it just means maybe you have some time to stay home and kind of sew.
Have a sew day instead of a snow day.
Have a sew day on a snow day and all that good stuff. So welcome in. We see lots of you in here. First and foremost, welcome to the newbies. We love our hardcore hoop sisters and misters that have been with us a long time. And they're probably noticing there's a lot more newbies in here too. So we're going to cover a lot of different things. But the first thing we're going to cover is kind of what sets Hoop Sisters apart. And I'm going to let Annie talk about that because she knows better than anybody.
Well, I think what sets us apart more than anyone else is the fact that our designs come with the quilting included. We have our own special batting that acts as a batting and a stabilizer. It's called battleizer. And that's what you put in the hoop. And then as you build your block, whether it be piecing or applique, at the end, you have quilting that is included, which is great because sometimes you may end up with just a block or a quilt top and they'll say quilt is desired. And then sometimes that can be a struggle as to trying to figure out how to finish it. But since our quilting is all included with the design, you don't have to buy an extra design. It is definitely included. So that is kind of what sets us apart and what makes Hoop Sisters designs amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. And the next thing that I just want to touch on, since we do have a lot of new people hanging out with us, which I am super excited about, is just kind of talk about what these workshops are all about. I get a lot of questions like, does it cost money to watch it? Like, what do I need to have ready? So I just wanted to explain that our workshops are basically a 2-day virtual experience where we reveal a new design. We show you how to stitch it out. Annie's got some things that she's going to stitch out live for you today so you can see how truly simple this process is. Typically by day 2, we're also talking about how do we remove the bulk from the seams so that we can get ready to join the blocks together. So we're going to talk about that on day 2. So this is meant to be fun, but also really educational. And we're just basically going to show you how simple we have made this whole process. And then what we also do is we open the registration prior to the event. And if you register prior to the event, you get a free downloadable gift.
Yay!
Everybody likes free gifts,
That's
right?
That's right. And some of you may have seen them already on our on
Yes.
this VIP Facebook group, and it's a cute little coaster.
Yes, and I see some people saying it's their first workshop also. So
Nice.
welcome. We're seriously so glad you're here. So just know we love to give away free gifts, which is anytime you see a workshop, you better get registered before it starts so that you can get your hands on that. We also do have special pricing, and we will get into all that as the workshop unfolds. But just know whatever we're about to show you is available as of right now.
But
okay?
don't go now. Afterwards.
Yep. All right. The next thing, I have a couple other housekeeping announcements before we really dive in here. I'm going to go through them quickly, but first and foremost, we're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. We will have replays available. So if for some reason you can't watch the whole thing, no worries. You can rewatch them both in both of those places. And if you registered prior to the event, not only are you going to get that free gift, which you already have, we also do email the replays out. So you will have the replays in your email. However, I'm going to skip to number 4. Joining us live, we usually have a live giveaway. And today we do. Yay! We'll get to how to get entered in that too, I promise. But there are some perks to joining us live. Number 2. This is really something that we like about our company too, is we really pride ourselves on customer service, and we have a real life human named Nina who answers the phone and answers all your customer service questions. So if something does not make sense to you, the best way to contact us is directly, and Nina will help you out. And the minute we turn off these workshops, the phone starts ringing. So if she doesn't answer right away, she will get back to you right away. Also, as I kind of mentioned before, the shopping is starting now. As soon as the workshop's over, you can jump over and go shopping, and I will give you all the info on limited time pricing and bundle bonus as we go. I know that's always a question right when we show it. People want to know, can I buy it? Do I need anything? We will talk about all that today. But how did you guys like that free gift? Did you guys like it? Did you see it? Did you make it? If you are in our VIP group, then you've seen a couple of them. So the last thing before we show this, before we reveal it, we do have a few shops that are participating in this as well. So if you are in Connecticut, Illinois, Idaho, Ontario, Pennsylvania, or Nebraska, heads up, these shops have this design in hand and they can sell it to you. They also get the free gift and the bonus. Okay. So they have everything that we're showing you, and I would say get it from them. You're going to save yourself shipping costs and support your local business.
And if your shop's name is not on there, but you know that they are a Hoop Sisters dealer, just mention this to them. And that way they can get it in stock and then turn around and sell that to you.
Absolutely. Okay, Annie, should we show them?
Let's show them.
You guys want to see it? All right, I'm going to pop this camera up over here.
There it is. This is our Heartfelt Half Square. So you can see by the name, there's a whole bunch of half square triangles that are in here. And the center background with the white fabric on there has a lot of pretty quilting in there. So this is our Heartfelt Half Square triangles. So this is it. So today I'm going to be stitching out this block that is right here, and also a border block that's going to be placed right here. So I'm going to remove this, and we're going to show you our free gifts that we stitched out that were the free gift with registration. So if you haven't stitched it out yet, you'll be able to see what ours look like.
Isn't it precious? The size is amazing too, because that just means it's going to be a nice quick project to stitch out, which we'll show you and talk about. So let's look at the freebie. So this was your free gift. Here, since you're back from that, I'll let you made it.
I get to be Vanna.
Yeah.
So these are just adorable little coasters. And you can see the back. It's just 2 pieces of folded fabric on the back and a cute heart applique on the front. These are all the same, just different color variations. And we saw some cute ones. There was, I'm sorry, I wish I would have remembered the name, somebody that had it in yellow and this fabric that had bee fabric on it. and it said "Be Mine." It was just so stinking adorable.
It was really cute.
So can I peel back our battleizer here?
Yes, and I
Okay.
gotta say, the first sample I loved. Then you started making this sample and these fabrics, and I was like, oh my goodness.
This one is just a little more scrappy.
I
I'm gonna
love
move
it.
this up just a hair here. But you can see it's just a little bit more scrappy. So you can see the 2 blocks that we're going to stitch out today that are missing. And basically this design requires, it comes in 5-inch and also in 7-inch block sizes. And to do, we have it laid out for, this is the littles, which is just 1 heart. And we'll show you here in the instructions in a minute. Then we also have got, oh, I'll take that. Thank you. We also have what we call the large layout, which is 4 of these sections all sewn together. So if you need something a little bigger for the area where you're going to use it, you can do that too. And I think it's just a lot of fun to stitch this out. And I will tell you too that I started this Friday afternoon, like around 3:15, and I'm like picking for fabric. I'm like, I know I got at least 4 fat quarters, which is all you need for this. You need a fat quarter for the center, so whatever your background fabric is, and then you need 3 more fat quarters that will be the border and also surrounding the heart. And this one, I didn't use fat quarters. I had a stack of fabrics from Michael Miller that were little 5-inch squares. And I needed 4-inch squares to do the 5-inch. So I cut them down and then I cut them on the diagonal, just like the instructions show. So I have more than 3 colors going through here. So even though we tell you need 3 fat quarters, if you have a lot of different fabrics that you want to incorporate in it to make it look more scrappy, by all means, go ahead and do that. I mean, it's just a fun design. You just need, I think it was 56 triangles here, and the instructions will tell you how to achieve those. So Aubrey, let's go to the instructions now, unless you got something else you want to talk about.
Oh, I always got something to talk about. But do you want to look at the fabric requirements before that, or no?
Well, yeah.
Or it's all kind of part of the
it's,
same thing?
Yeah, it's all
right,
in there too.
Let's pop this in there.
Okay. So this is a picture of the quilt that we showed you first, the first one, and that is a 7-inch one. That's our littles layout. And then the next page, and basically these are the instructions that I'm showing you right now. This is the large layout. So you can see what it would look like. Very cute if you wanted to have something a little larger for a different area in your house. I think they would make great pillows for grandkids or your children. I think that would be awesome. And then this page, I wanted to show you that over on the top row there, I don't know if you can they see your mouse?
I don't know.
Over to the right where the border is, that's the border block. The 5-inch one, that is a 3-minute stitch out, and you will make 8 of those. That's only 24 minutes. I started to say earlier that I started picking out fabrics Friday afternoon around 3:15.
Yeah.
And then around 10:30 this morning, I had all these blocks stitched out. I did not work this week.
I was going to say
a couple hours on Friday picking out fabric. Then I cut the fabric.
Yeah.
I stitched some out and then finished it up this morning. And I could have had time to finish this entire thing. So it's basically a half-day project and you're going to have it finished, which is so cool.
It is cool. And by the way, we understand that this is really little on the screen. When you purchase the design as a USB or download, this is all included. It's 8.5, but you can actually read it. But we just wanted to give you a little taste of it.
Yeah. So also, Aubrey, try your mouse, see if they can see the mouse. If you're viewing this on your phone, it might be a little more difficult. This block right there, which is in the bottom row on the far left, is a 10-minute stitch out. That's it. And then the little corner blocks, that one takes 2 minutes to stitch out. And the cool thing too is if you have an embroidery machine with larger hoops, you can put multiples of these in your hoop and you'd save on battleizer and you get them stitched out even faster because you're not unhooping and rehooping and do all that stuff too. So let's look at the fabric requirements now. You can just go one more page and you could, You're not going to be able to see this, but what we give you here is where the far column to the left, it gives you the file name and it tells you how many to stitch out to do the littles layout. There's another page for the larger layout, and then those are 5-inch, and then there's 2 more pages that's a 7-inch and just a single heart littles layout, and then another one for the large layout on the 7-inch. But we tell you what size to cut your optional wool, so you have everything you need to know there. We tell you approximately how much battleizer you're going to need. We tell you your the heart background of the heart that's in the center. You need basically 3 pieces of fabric. One of them you'll cut on a diagonal. And then the border fabric, basically for the littles layout, you're just going to take your fat quarters for the 5-inch, cut them in 4-inch squares, and then cut them on the diagonal. So it's very easy. It was so quick for me to cut my fabric and get ready for this. Let's see.
So for this part, I think we should hold it under there. I think they'll be able to see it a little bit better if we hold it when you show the instructions or the fabric.
Let's try that. See if I can make it square for you. But basically, these are your files. We tell you about the optional wool, how much battleizer you're going to need. This column tells you your heart background fabric, which is the white that you see there, the fabric you'll need for that. And then it tells you your border fabric, how many half square triangles you'll need for each of the files. So like for the white, the heart background, you're going to need 12 half square triangles, a mixture of them because there is what's surrounding the heart. And then the border, you're going to need 32 half square triangles. And we just lay it all out for you. We are not adding the backing fabric on this as we go because they're smaller projects. So we will just add that in the end, and we're going to go over that tomorrow. And basically, you just need another fat quarter for the backing. So it's just, I mean, you can go to the store and buy new fat quarters if you want to, or you can just go through your stash and see what else you need. But I wanted to, since we had a lot of newbies, Aubrey, can we go to the instructions and just show them page 8?
Yeah. Do you want to show them here, or do you want to show them here?
Way, we can show them here. Basically, if you're new to Hoop Sisters, this is what our instructions look like. And basically, we give you the written instructions along with the diagram of what happens for each and every step. And we give you lots of tips and stuff in here, and we'll give you even more tips as we go through this today.
Yes.
So,
all right.
I think I am going to head to the sewing machine.
And while you're heading to the sewing machine, I'm going to pop up some info because this is kind of the point where everyone goes, well, how much is it? I want it now. So I want to give you all that information. So first and foremost, this project is available in 5-inch and 7-inch block sizes. So as long as your embroidery machine can do at least has a 5-inch sewing field, you are all set. The other really good thing about this is you get both sizes when you purchase the design. So you will be good to go there. And then it's also multi-formatted. So it doesn't matter what type of embroidery machine you have, whether it's Janome, Bernina, Husqvarna, all the rest of them, you'll have exactly what you need for that as well. The other thing that I have listed here are the approximate finish sizes. This is a question we get a lot. So if you do the littles layout, which is the sample that you see here with one heart, you're going to do 5-inch or 7-inch. You'll pick which one, and your finish size is going to be 14.5 inches square, or the 7-inch 20.5 inches squared. And then if you decide to do the larger layout, which is basically making what you see on screen here 4 times and then joining them together, the finish size gets a little bit bigger. So 29 inches squared for the 5-inch, and then 41 inches squared for the 7-inch. And it's an amazing price point with all that quilting on that heart and all that good stuff included at $35. But we do have some limited time pricing and some bundle bonus information that I will go over shortly. So hang in there. But it looks like Annie's at her machine and she's ready to go. So I'm going to take you over to the fun part.
Okay. I think we're ready to go. Okay. So I am at my machine. And I just want to go over what you're going to need to do. We're going to do the border block first, which will take us just 3-4 minutes at the very most, maybe 5 if I talk too much. But basically, you're going to need your piece of wool, and this is optional. And this just gives your a cute little wall hanging or tabletop or whatever a little bit more dimension. If you are going to use it for a table topper, I would suggest skipping this part, because if you're going to put something on it, a vase or a glass or something, you're not going to want it to tip. So if you're using it for a wall or a gift or just for decoration somewhere, then the optional wool just gives it more dimension. And we tell you in the instructions that I just went over exactly what size to cut this. And then you're going to press the edges with your iron, just to press just the very edge of it. And that's so you'll see when we start sewing, it's going to do a zigzag stitch to attach this to your battleizer. And that will keep your presser foot from possibly getting caught in it. The other thing that we also tell you, if you're going to use the wool, that if you can just raise your presser foot, and it's probably in your set menu on your machine, where you can raise that a little bit so it can skim over the wool. So you need your wool if you're going to use it. And then the instructions will tell you that you need 4 half square triangles. So these are my little half square triangles that started out as a 4-inch square, and then they are cut on the diagonal. So these are my 4 little triangle pieces. You will need just a neutral sewing thread, a water soluble thread, and also an embroidery bobbin. So I am all set. I actually have already done step 1. Step 1 is you hoop your battleizer, and then it sews around and sews a placement stitch. That way, this is the perimeter of your block. So now that we've done that, now I'm going to show you how you go about adding your wool that you've pressed on the edges. You are just going to align this inside that placement stitch. And then the machine, I should have done a colored thread so you can see it. The machine will sew a zigzag. Okay, so now our wool is attached to our battleizer. I'm going to also, by the way, that was water soluble thread, if I didn't mention that. The next step is also water soluble thread, and it's sewing the pattern onto the wool or the battleizer if you're not using wool. So now we're going to do the piecing sections of this. The first piece, we are going to stay with our water soluble thread, and I am going to place my little triangle here right over the top of that. And I'm just going to peek underneath. I want the fabric to extend about 1/4 of an inch past that line where the pattern was. And then I'm going to just hit my button, and I think my machine came unthreaded. Yes, it did. All right, let's try this again. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is a step with water soluble thread, and it is just going to tack down your very first piece of fabric. And I'm just going to make sure the fabric stays smooth and doesn't move. Now, we do not tell you where to place which fabric. That is entirely up to you. You are the designer of where the colors go. At this point, I'm going to be changing my thread to just a regular sewing thread. So I have just a neutral gray color in here. Let me rethread. Okay, and then I'm going to take my next piece of fabric and I'm going to lay it right side down with the raw edges even, just like so, and hit the start button and your machine will sew the seam. Okay. Aubrey wanted me to mention why I was using water-soluble thread. So somebody must have had a question. Basically, I'm using water-soluble thread because sometimes the edge right here where we use the water-soluble thread to tack it down, when you sew this block to the block that's adjoining it, if you don't sew exactly in the right spot or just past that, it's going to end up showing. But by using water-soluble thread, you're able to just get it wet once the blocks are all joined together, and then it just dissolves. So our next step is, now that we have our seam, is we're going to flip this right side up and we're going to finger press it and just smooth it out. And we're leaving our neutral thread in there, and it's going to sew a tack down stitch. And the tack down stitch is just inside the block. We didn't tack down on the outside. We'll do that in the end because it'll save us a step and thread changing steps. Because anything we stitch on the edge, we want to make sure that it's water soluble in case it shows later. So let me move this forward. Oh, now I'm moving out of range. Hold on here. There we go. So basically now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and you may not need to, I'm going to trim this to about 1/4 of an inch, maybe a scant 1/4 inch. Sometimes you may not need to. It depends on when you, how big your seam is. It depends on a few things, whether you're going to need to trim that or not. But if you do need to trim it, I really recommend, we have a scissors, it's called a hoop scissors, and it has an offset handle, and it has a nice long blade, and it's great for cutting lengths of fabric when you're doing in the hoop designs. And then it's time for us to add our next piece of fabric. And again, don't worry about where you're placing them. Just get them on there. Now, one of the things, I'm going to adjust the camera again. Hold on. Another thing that I wanted to talk about too is how to place your fabric. We have 2 shorter sides, and then we have a side that's on the diagonal. And you might be wondering, when you do this the first time, do I place it like this? Or do I place it like this? Or which side do I place it on? So I'm going to give you little tips so that you know. You may not be able to see it very well, but there's where the pattern was stitched. You're just going to place your fabric exactly like it would be if you've already sewn the seam, and that's where the fabric needs to lay. And then you're just going to flip it upside down. That way you know, or you can flip it this way and then make sure that it's covering this area entirely. So I'm just going to make those raw edges even. And now I can sew my seam. Okay. So now my seam has been stitched, and now I'm going to flip. So we're just stitching and flipping. And the cool thing too about doing it in the hoop like this right onto the battleizer is that it's kind of doing its own quilting right there. It's kind of like a stitch in the ditch that's already there. Now I'm just going to finger press and smooth it out. And we are sewing another tack down stitch, and then one more seam. And this particular seam is going to actually be on this area. So again, if you just lay it down and then flip it like it's going to lay after you flip it, and you know everything's covered, then you know you have it on the right side. So we have the raw edges even. Hit the start button. It's going to sew our seam. And now I'm going to switch to water soluble thread, because what we're going to do now is it's going to stitch around the perimeter of the entire block, and that'll give us an edge to use when we go to cut and use our trimmer by George to remove the bulk. And if you don't know what the trimmer by George is, you'll have to stay tuned tomorrow, because that's when we're going to show you how to use the trimmer by George. And okay, so I've rethreaded. Again, this is a water soluble step simply because it is stitching around the perimeter of the block. So I'm going to flip and finger press, hit the start button, and it's going to sew just a basting stitch around the perimeter. So guess what? We have finished our border block already. That was super fast. The border blocks don't have any additional quilting simply because I got to design it. I got to decide, and I decided that they look so cute, just like they were, that I didn't want it to lose its dimension and its cute puffiness, and has a lot going on already. And I didn't want to add to it and make it too overdone. So basically, when you're stitching the seams here, it kind of looks like quilting, like a stitch in the ditch quilting. So the next block we're going to do, and I'm ready to do that, Aubrey, unless you have any questions that have come up. So I'm going to do my first step for the next block. And again, this is water soluble thread. It might be difficult to see on the screen. It's going to sew around the perimeter to show us where the block is.
Can you get them more stitching with regular threads later so it doesn't fall apart? That you use both?
Oh, okay. Just so you know that when we do sew the blocks together, Aubrey, I'm not sure I'm understanding what you want me to tell them. Maybe you can come tell them. We do stitch with regular thread when we sew our blocks together. The water soluble is just to hold this in place so that you don't see that showing. And when we get done before we leave today, maybe we can find a good example to show you a quilt that's already been sewn together where you can see that water soluble thread. So next step is step 2, and that is our wool. We prepared it around the edge, cut it the size that we tell you to, and then we put it inside that placement stitch. And the machine will sew a zigzag to keep that attached to the battleizer. Okay, so our wool is attached. Our next step is it's going to sew the pattern that is around to show us where exactly all the different fabric goes. So I'm just going to hit start. And you sometimes may have to just push the wool down ahead of the presser foot. If the wool does happen to get caught, it's easy just to snip it out of there. Okay, now the fabrics that we're going to use for this one, I didn't go over those earlier. You're going to need your larger piece of your background fabric. That's your heart in the center. And then you have another 4 different half square triangles, or we'll call those little just triangle pieces of fabric that we tell you how to cut it. And we're going to start with the first one. And we're just going to place it right here in this section. And we're going to place it so that we have even amounts of fabric on both sides and 1/4 of an inch over where that placement stitch was. And then we're going to, with the water soluble thread still, and this is water soluble just to keep it in place. and it tacks it down to the fabric. Now we're going to switch to regular sewing thread. And because we're doing seams, and we don't want to use water soluble for seams, just for tack downs and placements and patterns and the perimeter, things like that, that aren't important to hold the quilt together. All right, so now what we're going to do, it's going to sew a seam right here. Oh, it's going to sew this seam. I had to figure out which seam it was going to sew. And so now I need to decide which one I want to put where. So honestly, it doesn't matter. Once you have your entire quilt put together, all these fabrics are just going to look so nice together. So let's just go with this red. And again, I'm going to just lay this right over the top of it. I have regular sewing thread in the needle, and it's going to stitch a seam. I'm just going to cut a little thread tail here. And now we can flip this piece right side up, and we're going to finger press it and smooth it out, and it's going to sew a tack down stitch. Now, if you need to, and it looks like I would probably do this here, I'm going to do this. I'm kind of at a weird angle, but I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Just cut it down with my hoop scissors, just so it's about 1/4 of an inch, scant 1/4 inch to 1/4 of an inch. That's going to be left there in the seam allowance. And now it's going to do a seam up here. And again, our instructions give you diagrams to show you where it's going to stitch next, which is very helpful. And again, do the same thing you did here to try and test which side the raw edges should be laying on. And I'm going to just put that right there like so. And it's going to sew the seam. And now I can flip it right side up and finger press and smooth it out. And still with the regular sewing thread, we're going to stitch our seam. Just a neutral color. And now we have a seam that we're going to stitch there. So we don't have to change thread or anything. And again, here's my little triangle outline. So I can lay this here and go, oh yeah, that's how my fabric goes on there. And then you can just flip it and make the raw edges even. Right sides together. It's so easy. And then flip it right side up and finger press it, smooth it out. Okay, so now we're ready for our big piece of the white fabric. And this is a lighter fabric than all these other colors. So one thing you might want to keep in mind is make sure that you don't have the darker fabric sticking out. And I'll show you what I mean here. Hopefully the camera will be able to catch it. I'm going to snip those off because I don't want those showing through my white fabric. So this is how your white fabric will end up. So you're just going to flip it and have the raw edges even. So if I were to lay it like that, hopefully they can see that where this seam allowance is showing. When you flipped it, it may show through the white fabric. So make sure your white fabric, cut this more to a scant 1/4 inch, what you stitch down, and then lay your white fabric so extends just a little bit past that. That way you've got that coverage and you won't have any show through. Now we're going to stitch a seam. And now it's time to put our water-soluble thread back in there, because what we're going to do is we're going to stitch around the perimeter. That's going to tack this down. It's going to put a line of stitching here that we will use to hold our trimmer by George to when we go to trim the bulk out of our seams. And I might give you a little preview today, but we're really going to be trimming these blocks tomorrow. So back with the water-soluble thread. Okay, so nice finger press, smooth it out, and stitch a basting stitch around the perimeter. So we have one final step. This last step is really what takes the longest in this block. It's going to take 6 minutes for this last part to stitch out, because it is that beautiful quilting and the stitching with the filigree hearts and feathers. And it kind of reminds me of red work in a way. So I'm using hot pink thread. And I still have embroidery bobbin thread in the bobbin because we don't have a back on here. So those who are familiar with Hoop Sisters, this is going to be a one-piece backing. So we did not need to match our bobbin thread. So we just put it in the needle only, embroidery bobbin thread still in the bobbin. And what I will do though is, and maybe it's habit, I like to bring the bobbin thread to the top. That way it's going to look nice on the back. And that way, if you have a lighter backing fabric that you're going to use later, you won't have to worry about anything showing through. So I'm going to begin stitching, and then let's just stop it so I can clip that thread tail. And it's going to do, some of you may be familiar, some of the quilting we do like bubble quilting. We like to do that in little lines. This is going to be very similar to that. However, it's going to be little heart-shaped bubbles, which is super, super cute. So I'm going to hit the start button, and then I'm going to probably go in there with Aubrey. We'll see what else we can tell you about this design.
All right. She's going to head back in here. And I did see a couple questions about what machine she's using, her hoop, as well as how tight to hoop the battleizer. So I'm going to have her answer those questions in just a moment. But in the meantime, we do recommend pairing this design with our battleizer. We recommend the 5 yards, which is the smallest pack we sell. And this is part of that limited time pricing and the bundle bonus that I touched on at the beginning of the live today. So the design alone is $35. You can absolutely just purchase that on USB or digital download, however you prefer. But if you are new and you're kind of like, okay, I want to start this, but I'm not sure where to begin, the bundle bonus is perfect for you. Or if you're a veteran and you're just out of battleizer, this is the best pricing and the best deal you can get. It does expire tomorrow, which is Tuesday, January 9th at midnight. But the battleizer, just to reiterate, this is the first step in the design is hoop your battleizer. And battleizer is a combination of batting and stabilizer all in one. So when you do our designs, there is no need to add stabilizer. It's just got the perfect amount of everything you need for quilting, but also embroidery. 5 yards is $33.99. So if you get both of these things added to your cart, so the design and the 5 yards of battleizer, it will automatically take 10% off your order total, and it'll put a bonus in your cart. So this is a big deal, and it ends tomorrow night. But the other thing I want to tell you is, I'm going to be upfront with you. we're a little nervous we might run out of Battleizer. You guys, we had a lot of people register and a lot of people interested. And so our manufacturer is working overtime to get us Battleizer. We ship pretty darn quick, but this might be a little bit of a hang up if you wait to place your order. So I would say if you want this and you want the Battleizer, make sure you get your order in today so that we can get it out to you quickly. We do have some in stock. I just don't know how long it's going to last, depending on how much you all love this design. Okay. But I want to also just kind of break this down for you because really it's a fantastic deal. So the design is $35. The Battleizer for 5 yards of it, which Annie, you can tell us, but I'm pretty sure you are going to have extra. You could make a couple of these with 5 yards of Battleizer. So that's $33.99. Now the bonus, which we haven't even shown you yet, which I'm going to show you in just a second, is a $15 value. So if you purchased all of those things, it would be $83.99. But if you do it before end of day, January 9th, 2024, because we are recording this, it will automatically take 10% off for you, and it will automatically throw the bonus in your cart for free, which turns out to be a savings of $21.89 if you get both the design and the 5 yards of Battleizer. Okay. And guys, I see a ton of comments. I promise we will get you answered. It's coming in fast and furious. Do you know how much okay. So Battleizer, it's hard for us to tell you exactly how much you're going to need because it does depend on your hoop size, right?
It does.
But I'm thinking of 5 yards.
Oh, you know what? Probably less than, you could probably make a couple of these with 5 yards. You could, well, now that I think about it, more than a couple.
Yeah. So you'll have plenty.
Right.
And 5 yards is the smallest pack we have. So just know that. And then I will tell you the bonus is cute as a button. I'm actually going to switch my camera and show you some of these. And I do see someone also asking, Mom, if we'll talk about the wool too a little bit more.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just making sure I'm getting all these questions, but I'm going to pop over to our sample cam because this bonus. Now, if you wanted to purchase the bonus separately and you don't want the Battleizer for whatever reason, I think the only reason you wouldn't want it is if you already have a bunch of it in stock at your house, right? But look how precious these are.
These are conversation hearts.
They're so stinking cute. And I want to say there's 10 different sayings. So adorable.
1, 2, 3. I think there is. And you know what? I did these all in one hooping. If you've got a larger hoop and you just want a fun gift to lay around the house for your kids or grandkids, wouldn't this be adorable?
It is adorable. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to put a magnet.
Oh, yeah.
A magnet on the back.
Yeah.
Would be adorable. Teacher gift or on the fridge.
Not this one, but but maybe you rock.
Yeah.
Dream big. Call me might not be a good gift either, but
we'll leave it to your discretion.
Yeah, it depends on the theme and who you might want to give that to.
That's so funny. Okay. So that is the bonus. Okay. So I will also mention that if you're outside the United States and you registered, I sent you an email. You have a separate offer because we understand that shipping Battleizer out of the country is a little crazy, right? Shipping's nuts. And then there's customs and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into your offer just for confusion's sake. Check your email if you registered and you are outside of the US. Okay. All right. I would love to answer some questions. Oh, you want to show them that and then answer some questions?
See, it's finished already.
Look at that.
Yeah. So already have 2 blocks finished. So it does, I mean, if you put 4 hours, maybe if you're doing the 7-inch and maybe you might need 5 hours, but I cut my fabric and I did it all in 4 hours, make the little 5-inch sample. So
cute.
It is so cute. Make a great pillow, something to put on a table, hang on the wall. A lot of fun things that you can do with it.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to try to answer a couple questions. The first question that I remember is they were asking what kind of machine and hoop you were using. keeping in mind that it is multi-formatted, so you don't
It
have to use the
is,
one
it
that she's,
is.
but I saw that question a couple
Yeah.
times.
So, I mean, obviously, like Aubrey said, they're multi-formatted to work on all machines. And the hoop size, basically, I like to have, I tell people, use the smallest hoop possible that you can, unless you wanted to put multiple border blocks and the little corner blocks in one big hooping. That is usually, it's very efficient and it saves on battleizer. So that is a good thing.
Yeah.
I was using the Janome CM17 and the hoop I used to do these two. And I think I could have fit more on here. I
Yeah.
think yep, it's the Square 27 hoop.
There you go.
Yep. So, but yeah, those bigger hoops are great. If you're doing one block at a time, just choose the smallest hoop possible that the block will fit in.
How many times can you Frankenbat?
I don't think I've hit the max yet.
Yeah, I mean, as long
I had a piece. I was working on something that I ended up with weird shaped pieces of battleizer and kind of like a triangle.
Yeah.
That's we're working on a half square
and you
triangle.
made it a half square triangle?
Yeah, and so I did, and then I put it in my hoop, and then I had some left on the side, and I Frankenbatted it again. And for those of you who don't know, it's just taking your battleizer and butting it up to each other and doing a zigzag so you can kind of save on it. Here we go.
If you have a scrap, we like to save all the things and save all the money. And then you go ahead and tell them you just zigzag it
you
together.
Would just butt the ends right up to each other and do a zigzag stitch down the middle.
Then you got a bigger piece.
That's right. You have a bigger piece and you've saved, and you can use what you would normally put in your trash can. So
yeah,
why not do that?
Yes. Okay, I see someone already checked. They were eager and checked out and didn't get the bonus. So if you would have had to have added the battleizer with the design, and it will automatically do it for you. So if you want to add that battleizer in, maybe just give us a call. In fact, I'm going to pop Nina's information. We can always add it to your order.
She can fix it for you.
Yep. Or you can, if you don't need the battleizer because you already have a bunch of battleizer at home, you can just purchase the bonus for $15. But hopefully that's all clear there.
You could put a pin on the back of this too and wear it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just looking at the comments, guys, to make sure that we answered everything.
Did somebody have a wool question?
Should we use water-soluble thread to join scraps of battleizer?
No, you can just use a white thread, something that matches the battleizer. I wouldn't use water-soluble. I don't think it's going to hurt if you do, but I think probably it's more cost-effective if you just use regular thread, but it won't hurt it if you do.
And Paula Hilson, that's a great question. Would you use Frankenbat on one of the heirloom quilts?
Yeah, I would.
You save more money.
That's right.
That's great. Okay. Yes, it's too late to get the coasters. The registration ended at 1 o'clock. So that was just the pre-registration free gift. You could hide the hearts and have the kids find them to win a prize. That's a great game.
That is a great idea. That's awesome.
You guys are so creative. I can't wait to see what you all come up with. I'm going to pop up our keyword one more time. This is the giveaway keyword. I know a lot of people typed it in already, but I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance. The keyword is heart. So go ahead and type that. You only have to type it one time. So if you already typed it, you're already entered, and we're going to go and do that in just a moment. But if you guys have any other questions, I got Annie here and she can definitely help you out. I shouldn't have said that because now the questions are gone and the hearts are coming in.
You said you had a wool question earlier. Do you remember what it is? If you had the wool question, type it in again. You still have time.
I think they were just asking what it's Quilter's Dream.
Dream wool, Quilter's Dream wool. If you're allergic to wool or whatever, if you have, you can even use a poly batting. The only thing is when I press the edges, I will tell you that I have been using parchment paper. Just grab a piece from the kitchen and just lay the parchment paper over the top, and you can see through it. And then you can use your iron to press the edges in. But anything that has a little bit of loft, if you don't want to use wool, you can use that as well. But I wouldn't go real super lofty because sometimes your stitching could be off or your presser foot could get caught into it. So just a little bit of loft.
Someone said they cut it, the wool, the size that we state, and it seemed a little short. Any idea?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it worked for me. Sometimes it will have a little stretch to it. Sometimes when you press it, it could bring it in a little bit, but typically it just seals it.
Okay.
So,
and then there was another one I saw that I wanted to answer, and now I can't remember what it was. They come fast and furious.
They do.
Oh, the wool, I will say too, it's an option. So,
it is.
well, we definitely recommend the battleizer. The wool is an option. You don't have to use the wool. If you do use the wool, it's perfect for like a wall hanging, and it'll give it kind of like trapunto-y look. But if you're planning on using it like as a table topper, we say maybe skip the wool so you can set a vase on it or something like that.
Because I'm sure you're all going to get a dozen roses for Valentine's Day.
Okay, then someone asked, does the battleizer have a front and back side? And I've heard you and Linda have different answers on this occasionally.
Well, you can kind of tell if you pull it apart a little bit. The back side will have kind of a scrim to it. I don't know if you can see that or not. That is what stabilizes the batting. And that would go on the back. But I've done it both ways.
Yeah.
Just maybe accidentally, and it's been fine. But that's technically how.
Sorry, I just need to check something super quick.
So hopefully, if you have any other questions, we do have a minute or two where we will continue to answer. And
okay, I see a couple comments saying the bonus isn't working for them. So I will double check that as soon as we hop off here. If it isn't, it'll only be a couple minutes and we'll get that fixed for you. And I think I'll also just pop in here the shopping link so that you guys can go shopping. Go shopping. Okay. All right. I see the comments about the checkout being wonky. We will check that out right now. Give us 5 minutes. It'll be all fixed. Okay.
That's right.
All right, you all. Thank you for joining us. Day 2.
We have a giveaway.
Oh my gosh. We have don't let me do that. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do the giveaway. Thank you, Annie. Oh my word. That would have been bad. Let me share my screen and we will get a winner. And it's a $50 store credit.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's this. There it is. Okay.
So tomorrow, what we're going to do is we are going to, I'm going to join the blocks together, but I'm going to leave some of them so I can show you how to join it together. I'm going to stop talking right now so we can see whose name.
Raquel Chapa.
Congratulations, Raquel.
Yes, congratulations. You just won $50 in store credit with us. And so to access that, you're going to want to email nina@hoopsisters.com and let her know that you were the Heartfelt Workshop Day 1 winner. And she will add that to your account. Okay.
That's exciting.
Yes.
So tomorrow I'll show you how to join the blocks, where to sew, how to pin, all that, how to press them. And if you're using wool, you'll have to use a strip stick. So we'll talk about that. And before we do that, I'll show you how to use the trimmer by George.
Yeah. And I will say, if you're shopping right now.
Oh, yeah.
And you're adding the design and you're adding the battleizer, these are 2 things we are talking about tomorrow that we recommend. This, especially if you're using wool. Okay. Yep. This for every single design we ever do. So,
even not our designs, anything you do where you want to remove the bulk in the seam, but definitely both of those are very, very useful.
So I'm just telling you this now because last workshop, we had a couple people go, oh, I checked out yesterday and now I need that too. Yeah. So it's all in that tab with the link that I put in there. You'll find all the things that we recommend. So, all right. I think we did it.
We did.
We'll be back again tomorrow.
We will. We'll finish this little quilt.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.